Please stand for the invocation led by Supervisor Sullins, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Will you all pray with me? Our gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for our good health and our good fortune to be able to come here tonight. Lord, there's a lot of folks that aren't enjoying their good health right now. God, I thank you for just giving us a chance to be about our county's business, and I pray that you'll give us wisdom to make good, sound decisions tonight. Father, we lift up the Kirk family, Lord, and pray that Lord, we just pray that your hand of mercy would be upon them, Lord, at this time. God, I pray that your hand of mercy would be upon our country, our county. Lord, Father, I just pray that your grace would shine down upon us. Lord, I know there's people that would say they heard this same prayer Saturday night, but God, it's going to be my prayer until it's fixed, Lord. We are brokenhearted, Lord. Our country is fractured. Our county's fractured. So many people getting killed just for the words they say. God, I pray for your grace upon us, Lord. I pray that you'll help us to get along and enjoy the company of those that don't look like us, those that don't vote like us, those that don't live like us, Lord. Help us remember, Lord, that we're all your children and that we're called to get along, and each one of our lives is precious in its own way. God, let your grace shine upon us. We ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Before we say the Pledge of Allegiance, I just want to have a moment of silence for Charles Kirk. Whether you agree with him or not, he was killed for speaking his words. And I would fight for anyone's rights to don't disagree with me. If somebody wanted to start a church that was against God, I would fight for their right to worship, because if they can take away their right, they can take away my right. And it's just important that we remember someone who was speaking, and for that reason alone, he was murdered. So I'm just going to take a moment of silence for him. We lift his family up in prayer. Let's do the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. I appreciate your taking the time to be involved in your community. I'll ask anyone on the board, is there any amendments to the agenda? Seeing none. This time we'll move on to public comment. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. To afford everyone a chance to speak, please state your name, your full name, and the district in which you vote so it can be properly recorded in the public record. On my list first, as always, I have some guy named Sherman Davis.
Thank you there, son. I used to be known as Pastor Davis. Now I'm known as Bill's dad. Anyway.
And the Shermanator.
I am Sherman Davis, and I vote in the Dalvin district. And we are broken people. There's no doubt about it. I want to ask you tonight, do you know the country that has the strictest immigration policy? Do you know the country that has the strictest immigration policy? It's heaven. You have to be born again, fame of God, to enter in. John 3, verse 3. Amen. You must be born again to see the kingdom of God. You got to be a member of the family, a citizen to get in. I asked you to tell you the same thing that I told my congregation Sunday in much shorter version. But I asked them, do you understand there's a problem? And we have a problem. And the problem is that we have a Bible. But the Bible don't have us. We have a Bible, but the Bible don't have us. And the scripture says, let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus. When a person gets saved, we say we surrender our life. That means we surrender our mind to Christ. We want to think like he would think, what he would say what he would say. And the problem is that we don't think right, and we don't think right, then we don't act right, we don't live right, and things happen like happened this past week. And we all know about Charlie Kirk, and we pray for his family. Too often we bring disgrace to grace. Grace is unmerited favor. God has given us what we don't deserve. And we bring disgrace to that because we don't have the mind like Christ had. And we should love the truth. We should live the truth. We should speak the truth. We should stand for the truth. And if necessary, yes, we should suffer for the truth and die for the truth. And someone said, well, what's your truth and what's my truth? Maybe a different truth. No, there's no such thing as my truth, no such thing as your truth. It's either truth or it's not truth. It's either truth or a lie. Jesus says you should know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. And we talked to Sunday about evil, and we said evil exists in our world as a direct result of a man's abuse of his own free will. God has given us, every man, a free will. And when we choose to abuse that free will, then evil comes out. And someone asked, well, why don't God destroy evil? If God destroyed evil, he'd have to destroy the free will. If he destroys the free will, then it would all be like puppets. And so the fact of the matter is that if he chose to destroy evil, then he'd have to destroy good. Then we wouldn't have a choice. If you can't have a choice to choose good, you don't have a choice to choose evil, then you don't have a choice. So we rejoice in the fact that God has given us a free will. Don't you appreciate your free will? Amen. Amen. Me too.
Thank you. Tootie?
In a second. Doesn't have alcohol, I promise. That's right. Okay, Tootie Moncure, Madison District. I have brought with me tonight a representation of the Rappahannock River. Unfortunately, the Rappahannock seems to be a free-for-all water source. Its health is in danger, and we are its stewards. River water is needed for farms and agriculture. That is not up to debate. Caroline County is approved for withdrawal of 9 million gallons a day, and that water will not be returned to the Rappahannock. Data center development may or may not use surface water, but the use of non-potable water or gray purple water for evaporative cooling means that there is less water returning to the river. Even closed-loop systems take water from us. Most importantly, we could lose the return of water from municipalities. These municipalities: Fredericksburg, Stafford, King George, Spotsylvania. The list does not even account for development activity upstream in those rivers that feed into the Rappahannock, which includes 7 counties, including a large data center campus in Culpeper. Oh, no, I'll just save it. Population growth is expected, which means the demand for water will increase. Now that we know our reliance on groundwater is ending, we must turn to surface water. Our area has experienced an unprecedented drought over the last 2 years. This is something we cannot always predict. The future is not always known. We know that you do your best to accommodate unforeseen circumstances. Planning starts today. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Anne Marie, you're not on the list. Did you want to speak?
Yes.
All right.
Hi, my name is Ana Maria Lobo. I live in Presidential Lakes. I've been really busy and I did not have time to write anything. But I want to thank you for your service to the community, and I know this job is really hard what you're doing because you cannot make everybody happy. Some people is happy and some people is not happy. But thank you for your service. And next time I will say something. Thank you.
Thank you. That's why I asked you to speak, because I knew you'd be nice to me. All right. Lee?
All right, good evening, board members. My name's Lee Robotham. I come to you tonight speaking as a public citizen in the James Madison District. Tonight, I'm coming to speak on the apparent double standard on our First Amendment rights here as Americans. On 9/13, September 13th, a vigil was held at Sidell Brooks Park to honor Charlie Kirk, who was assassinated for the free exchange of ideas with his fellow Americans. He was a God-fearing, God-loving American patriot who was a husband and father of two. After this vigil, the Brooks family, related to Mr. Sidell Brooks, who was a supervisor here in the past, made a post on social media to the entire King George community. They do not condone political violence. Thank you. I appreciate that. Then, they do not condone the honoring of an American patriot at a park with their name on it. I didn't realize this was Mr. Brooks's family park. I thought this was a community park. The post continued to cite false racist rhetoric commonly used when you dislike the fact that another individual has a factual argument that you cannot refute. Charlie toured closely with Candace Owens, who he treated like a sister. It's a shame that unfortunately Mr. Brooks's park is only usable for part of the community that they agree with politically. Well, I think parks should be for all King George citizens. I would ask the board to investigate and consider renaming Shiloh Park off Ridge Road to Patriot Park, something that represents all of the people of King George community and not just a portion of that community. Unfortunately, people must be held accountable for their own statements, lies, and shortcomings. I would ask Mr. Brooks, who posted this, to publicly apologize for throwing hateful rhetoric at all the people who supported the vigil that night. However, it's his right to speak, and if he so chooses to not do so, then that is fine. However, he must accept the consequences that follow. Soon after the post was made, the post was deleted, perhaps because we regretted maybe what we had posted. But the internet is forever, and should you need a copy of what was said, I'll happily provide it to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak? Pastor Shaw?
I did not corroborate with Anne Marie when I wrote this. James Shaw, James Monroe District, columnist for the Northern Next Sentinel, assistant journalist, kgmedia.top, not speaking in my capacity as EDA member. No hat. Thank you for your service to the county through thick and thin. Thank you for putting up with the negative Nellies that are out there. A quote attributed to Lincoln: "You can fool some of the people all the time, and all of the people some of the time, but you cannot fool all of the people all of the time." You guys get enough of the votes right enough of the time, so I think we'll keep you. God bless the King George Renaissance, where enough of the people enough of the time is good enough for now.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak? Is there anyone online? Terry, are you coming up? All right.
I really wasn't, Terry Morgan, Shiloh District. I was not prepared for this. I don't necessarily want to say that I disagree with Mr. Robotham. However, I will say we should not make a hasty decision based on hearsay or based on secondhand information. Something would have to be researched. I am a neighbor to Mr. Sidell Brooks, have been since the 90s. You know, he did not post that, a family member did. I had to delete some people on my Facebook pages because of obnoxious things that they said. However, it was not necessarily what their mother thought or what their brother thought. It was what they themselves thought. It was a shame that it was done, and it was divisive. But I think making a decision based on haste is also divisive. And I think any decision and put forth anything like that right now without clear guidance as to whether this is something that the whole family said or did or wanted is really defeating and taking away from the good that Mr. Brooks has done in this community. And it's laying at his feet at this time what one of his family members did. And if I was held accountable for all the things that my family members did or have done, or God forbid will do in the future, shame on whoever does it, and it would be a huge deficit to my character in doing so.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak? Is there anyone online? Has anyone received any correspondence? All right, so at this time I will close public comment. We'll move on to reports of members of the board. Mr. Robotham?
It's great to see everybody again. Sorry I missed the last board meeting. I was out on leave, out on vacation, but at this time I have nothing to report for the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Collins, anything to report?
I have no report, thank you.
Mr. Stroud?
Thank you, sir. I am grateful for the people who came out and spoke tonight, as always. I would also like to say that Charlie Kirk advocated for a peaceful dialogue, and that if we communicate, then we can work together to resolve conflict, and for people to either get involved and have a say in the direction of your country, or you'll leave it a void that someone else will fill that may not share your values. Charlie was a patriot that fought for our freedom, specifically the freedom of our youth who had been indoctrinated into a liberal, woke, brainwashed environment at many of our universities. He allowed them to hear conservative values and to not be afraid to speak out about them. While the left consistently wants to silence any narrative not supporting their woke ideology. For this reason, I suggest we too acknowledge those values of faith, family, and freedom. And as a part of acknowledging that, then I'd like to open a discussion about renaming C.D.L. Brooks Park to Patriot Park. This also supports our patriots. Many of our King George community are military, first responders, as well as our freedom-loving citizens that demonstrate their patriotism during the Fall Festival, Independence Day, Memorial Day, Election Day, and many more. I love seeing trucks drive around with the American flag flying behind it, blowing in the wind. I like that small country feel, but the display of the freedoms that we enjoy in our patriotism. So I think by naming it in a way that honors all of our patriots, then that goes to show honor to all. On an unrelated topic, actually, no, that's all. Thank you, sir.
Bender?
Sorry, I was working the last minute on some of my comments. I wanted to thank everyone who came out and spoke. I'm not going to address all of the comments, but I'm going to talk about a few things that are very important that have happened over the last 2 weeks. I want to give a shout out to the King George Historical Society. I heard they had a nice event on Friday with historical dress and dance. I unfortunately could not come because as a band parent, I volunteered to be the photographer, videographer, so I was at the band and taking pictures of everybody and cheerleaders in football like I've been doing since 2002. And so I just wanted to say I know some are disappointed right now in the performance maybe of some of our team, but it is very important to come out and support all of our athletes out there, whether they win or lose, because they're out there playing the game that they love, and they do give 100% of their ability to do the job. And you know, there are performers, the cheerleaders do a nice job in the band, and they are our kids, so we need to come out and support them instead of always make comments on Facebook, but come out and support the kids because they are doing their best and they should be supported. And as a former coach, I always enjoy watching the kids give their best effort. So I just wanted to put that out there. I attended the FAMPO meeting, which Mr. Sullins and I participated online, and Healthy Generations, which is the area agency on aging that I chair at Healthy Generations. One of the things that was brought up, and I want to put it out there for all of us to remember, when we're looking at this extra money from the data centers that we might be allocating to schools or fire and rescue, sheriff's office, or anything else, we need to remember our seniors and maybe giving to the organizations that help seniors, because at Healthy Generations, they do provide transportation to our residents. They help them get to doctor's appointments. They do have a senior cafe at our citizen centers where seniors can come and socialize. And I think it's really important that we remember our seniors, and there has been some funding cuts, as we all know, in a lot of things from the federal government. So we just need to remember that, that is a service that is important to our community because it helps seniors of all walks of life. And I heard there was one senior they honored just recently who's almost 100 years old, and she comes diligently for the last 20 years to the cafe. So I just wanted to bring that importance. Another thing I'd like to remember, for anybody who would like to come out to GWRC, which is the George Washington Regional Commission, on Monday, we are going to talk about the regional water supply in the Rappahannock River. So if people would like to come and get insight, I know Mr. Sullins and I will be part of that conversation. Please come out during public comment because I made sure it was on the agenda as chair. Others have heard me speak about HB 206, which was set up in 2022, and it's been revived several times. It's about the solar siting agreements, and it has gone into law as of June of this year in full implementation. So any projects that were put in after December 31st of 2024 are under these regulations. You can look about it online. They revived the committee for the third time, and they made this little post saying, reunion tour, HB 206. A lot of us have been together for 3 years on this tour. There's 20 of us that are left. Myself and a gentleman from the city of Danville are the only elected or county representatives. Everybody else here are lobbyists, members of the industry, DEQ, all the representative subject matter experts. We had our first meeting last week. And what was interesting, they were talking about forest cores and C1 and C2. And a lot of those forest cores are in nationally protected parks, so they're already conserved. And so those are the ones that HB 206 are re-looking at that. But one of the things I want to point out is the King George in the Northern Neck and the Middle Peninsula are mostly what's called C3 cores. There's about, I think there's 5 cores that they represent. And C3 is very high, is what it's called, but it's not in that protected status. Well, what's important about C3, and I brought this up and there was no answer, but they said that's a good question, is C3 is very important, especially for the Chesapeake Bay and nutrient control and all those important things. And it has a lot of floodplains and wetlands, but that's not considered as important to conserve. And the Dominion Energy representative admitted that the majority of where they're looking at for battery storage, data centers, solar siting is where the transmission lines are. And guess where they are? They're down the Northern Neck and the Middle Peninsula. So I want to make sure that we are protecting our constituents and doing what we need as protection to make sure that we're not taken advantage of for the rest of the world to have our phones or our internet. But you can do all of it, but there's got to be those hard conversations to understand we just can't be the area that they all come after because we have open land and the transmission lines are there. So when the gentleman from Dominion and the gentleman that was the lobbyist there for the solar industry, I kind of pushed back on them a lot and said, remember us, and that C3 folks, they're just as important and they need to be protected. And there's got to be a line we could cut where we get what is needed to help our grid, but we also look out for the citizens that are in those zones that are being targeted because we have a lot of open land. Coming back on that also, Mr. Sullins and I did attend the ESG presentation of a community solar project, and if I get this wrong, I apologize, on Powhatan Road. One of the things that was, I was a little upset about how it was presented, because I will say I was there to get, and I was very vocal at the meeting, I was there to get information about the project. But the first thing they did was say, here's some gift cards, and here you go, that's for coming to the meeting. Well, Mr. Sullins and I right away gave it to the person next to us, and I want to make sure people know that. But I also didn't like the sentiment check they gave out in the survey. And why that bothered me was we talked, and Mr. Sullins talked in his prayer vigil, his opening prayer, about making sure we have the community come together, not be divisive. And when I was at the HB 206 meeting and at the solar meeting, I started hearing Q words. And I don't like how sometimes the industry pits us against our friends and neighbors. And number 2 on the survey really bothered me, and I pointed it out, and I refused to fill it out. I said this was data mining. Number 2 is how important is it for landowners in King George to decide how their property is used? I thought I was there to hear a presentation about a solar project, not something to divide us. And then the last write-in survey that they wanted is, what are the top 3 concerns about solar energy locating in King George? That bothered me. So whether you agree or disagree with my viewpoint, I know that the Clean Economy Act is important for those to get to make sure we have the energy transition. But I want to make sure we think about all variables and how we come to these decisions. And I don't like groups that come in and divide our county. But I did have a nice conversation afterwards with the folks, and I did agree to tour the property of the landowner. But I just told them of how it came to me right off the bat in the presentation. And I just wanted the public to understand that. And then the last thing I wanted to point out, and Mr. Hamilton is going to be talking about this in his report, but I wanted to do a shout out. So you know we first thought we had 2 consent orders with the Service Authority. Well, we found out last year that there was a 3rd consent order that we didn't know that Mr. Miller had signed. Well, I want to tell you that today Mr. Hamilton received a letter from DEQ saying we have met the requirements of the consent order, and we are now only have 2 consent orders. So I wanted to point out, because that was really positive, Norm and I and Bryce got the ball rolling to quickly take care of those matters, and Mr. Hamilton wrapped a bow on it and finished it off. So I wanted the public to know that we have made a lot of progress in the Service Authority, and one of those 3 consent orders is done as per DEQ. Worked very hard over the last year and a half to repair those relationships, to make sure that we don't get in trouble anymore. And I had great conversations and some hugs from those at DEQ when I went to HB 206, because I really cherish those relationships that I built to help for a positive, so that DEQ works with us, not against us. And that is the end of my report. Thank you.
Mr. Sullins?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So there's a lot of information been passed tonight, a lot of thoughts. I don't want to rehash any of those. I'll touch on a couple of different things. Tootie, I got to be honest with you. I missed the part where you said it was representative of the river water. All I saw was brown stuff coming out of a Mountain Dew bottle and you drinking it, and I got really nervous really quickly. So the water that comes out of our treatment plants doesn't look like that. So yeah. But thank you for the comment. Thanks everybody for being here tonight. I'll keep it quick. I had several engagements this week, as is usually the case. I think Ms. Bender talked about most of those, so I won't rehash them. But probably the most fun thing that I got to do this week was the Fredericksburg Food Bank had an open house on Saturday, and so I got to go tour that, see how their facilities work. And during the time when we're doing our budget planning for the coming year, we often ask questions like, you know, it boils down essentially to what's in it for King George. And I think I remember a question last year coming around of, well, why are we sending money to that? That's in Fredericksburg. You know, why aren't we putting all of our eggs in the basket of, no pun intended, of Love Thy Neighbor? It turns out that the Fredericksburg Food Bank provides food to Love Thy Neighbor. They're a food bank. Love Thy Neighbor is a food distributor. And so that's how that relationship works. So that when we provide food or funding or whatever to the Fredericksburg Food Bank, some of that does come back to us in the way of food. We still need to support Love Thy Neighbor directly, but we're also getting benefits back, you know, when we support the Fredericksburg Food Bank. It was a neat setup. They've got 2 campuses. I'll share some more later when, you know, probably through the written report that I send out on Sunday about what that was about. But otherwise, great week, lots of fun, and hopefully this will be a great meeting tonight. Thank you all for coming out.
Thank you, Mr. Sullins. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you for everyone who spoke. As always, I just appreciate people who contribute to the community and don't just complain, but just come and actually participate. It's a warm welcome. Discussion is always welcome here. Even if we don't agree, I still want to hear the opinions, and maybe you can change my mind. It's, you know, if I'm not sold on something, I'm always willing to listen. I did get a chance to go to the Historical Society picnic. It was a good time. I think my little 5-year-old's addicted to it because they started dancing and she was out there dancing with them and she didn't know what they were doing, but she started trying to figure it out. And she was mad when she had to leave. And I had a lot of conversations with them just kind of about, what we're going to do as far as their museum and, how that could be used for tourism. And we'll be discussing some of those things about, the old courthouse and how we're going to use it, if it's usable, or do we need to expand out here onto this other building over here? Those are things that we're kind of dealing with right now. Got to have some discussions with some of the school board, as opposed to what they're looking at and how some of their needs have miraculously kind of changed for the better, I think so. And just, some of the demographics of the population sway that they thought was happening, things have kind of paused. That maybe things hit like a little bit of a high point and things are kind of leveling off. And even the groups that come out and do those census have said that King George is kind of leveling off right now. So that's a good thing. And I think it's due to some of the work that we've done here on this board. I do want to speak. I've gotten some calls about, Dalgan West, which is the data center that we recently approved, not from constituents, but from other people who want to be partners with our community, and just kind of wondering, how did they get 5 yeses from this board on something like that? Because the word out there could be a little bit, the King George, if they control the narrative, King George isn't business friendly and doesn't want businesses. Well, I think that what we've shown through this is that we do want business. We do want people. But at the end of the day, it comes down to people who want to be good partners with our community and with our town. We're not going to be taken advantage of, but we welcome business here. We want to be a place where when we ran on wanting to be business friendly. I mean, Mr. Strauss owns his businesses, I own business, and we work with those people. And what we noticed before we got on the board is that we weren't the most busy friendly town. I mean, there's a lot of hoops people had to jump through to get something accomplished here. And we should always be looking out for our constituents and our properties and our land and our water and all those things. But it has to be things that kind of fit our life and fit our rural life and what we want King George to be. But we are open for business, and we do want to partner with people. But the key word for us is you're going to have to be a partner with us, and it's going to have to be a win-win situation in a sense. And I always say, I gave a speech the other day at the school, and I talk about win-win. I'm talking about WHEN, WIN. In other words, when my win happens, it creates an atmosphere for other people to win. When we as a community, when we as leaders in the community create a win, where that win takes place, then it creates a place where everyone in our town can win. And that's kind of what we're looking for, and the businesses that come here. I'll close the reports to the board this time. Thank you once again for being here, and we will move on to the consent agenda.
I will make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion properly seconds. Any further discussion? Mr. Stroud?
Aye.
Ms. Bender?
Aye.
Mr. Collins? Mr. Sullins?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. Constitutional officers, Regina?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I am here tonight to provide an update for the reassessment that's being conducted, and Ethan Andrews is here with me.
Hey, good evening. It's nice to see you guys again. It's been, I guess, we were up here last month, me and Steve. So just the update is we're getting pretty close to being done now. I can say as of the work done last Friday, we're at 90% complete as far as the parcels. It's about a little under 1,400 parcels left to go. Most of that actually being here in King George proper. It's the tax map numbers 24 and 23, which I have the index map. If anybody's unfamiliar, I can give this to you guys, or I don't know how well you can see from back here. Otherwise, we had about 80 properties where we attempted to schedule an appointment for them, either because they had some sort of gate or barrier to entry, or just posted signage, or a couple property owners have requested appointments. As far as I'm aware, we've been able to get to about half of those properties. So hopefully we'll get responses, as we go finish up here for the other half. If not, we'll either attempt a second response or a second visit. But otherwise, I know there was the mobile homes were kind of a point of emphasis just because there was hasn't really been a proper inventory done of the mobile homes from the prior assessments for, I think it was about 10, 11 years, you said. So we just finished up visiting all of the mobile home parks and are kind of making sure we have all of our information all updated on those. I believe our count is we've got a little over 500 mobile homes. Obviously, there might be a couple more. As mobile homes is personal property, I should specify, sorry. There might be more here in King George, so it might be a little bit more than that. But, you know, we'll update on whether or not that is. And then otherwise, our commercial review is starting to get underway, where we're reviewing all of our commercial properties or all the commercial properties and reviewing sales and that on those. And, you know, that'll be hopefully complete soon. Otherwise, talking a little bit about some of the sales that we've seen. You know, we're haven't finished gather all the sales and done all the sales analysis. Just as we go, we get, you know, we take all the sales from the land transfers, and sales are still looking relatively healthy or pretty healthy here. I've talked to some of my colleagues, you know, working in different parts of Virginia, and that's sort of the trend Virginia-wide. The sales are still staying healthy as far as 2025 is concerned. So I wouldn't expect a sort of a catastrophic change or anything from kind of what we saw with the trends. And then Steve asked me to ask about the thinking about our hearings for appeals once we're finished with the process, about if you guys, I don't know, maybe this is something I could ask Regina or you guys, I'm not sure of, for office space for the public to come and meet with us and talk about the properties as far as the appeals are towards the end of the process. I don't know if that's something that we should start setting up now, or if that's something we need to look into closer to being done. But that's sort of the end of my update. I can answer any questions or anything too.
Anyone have any questions?
I guess when are you looking at to do those conversations with the folks that want to talk about their properties?
I don't have the specific timeline for when those were sort of mapped out as part of the contract. I think we're expected to mail out notices right around the new year or right after the new year. So typically, there's a few weeks in between that, so it would be sort of start of 2025. I can double check our sort of updated timeline and password to see specifically that sort of when we've sort of outlined with you guys earlier. But
I just wanted to ask that because, you know, they have to get their field sheets first before they want to know if they want to come speak to you. But I know that was a concern last time. They had to come to the appeals board. So maybe having that conversation before might cut down on could correct some things and possibly cut down on some of the upsetness of folks.
Yeah. We mean that us holding appeals prior to the Board of Equalization, that sort of stuff. And we'll probably do some over the phone. We might do Zoom. I'm not entirely sure what all of our infrastructure will be at, but probably phones and in person would be probably our preference to do, but.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Sullins?
Thanks. So you mentioned part of your, one of the things that factors into this is market value and sales and stuff like that. How long of a time do you look at? Because I was just double checking, and this month the average sale was about $512,000. We were told that last month it was about $570,000. The month before that was a little bit, well, quite a bit less. So how much of a time period do you look at to try to get an aggregate?
So it'll depend on the total sales count, but we always try to make sure we have at least 12 months. So if we think that our sales count overall is a little light, we might extend that period a little bit more into 2024. But we try to we try to mostly get a 12-month period.
Okay.
I know typically for commercials, just because there's not as going to be much volume for commercial sales, or there'll typically be a longer sales period. That'll just depend on sort of the overall volume of sales, whether we'll go back all the way to 2022 or if we'll just need 23 or 24. Same thing too, if there's any couple like kind of unique high-end properties where we might need to look, extend the period just to see, just because, you know, sometimes you get a property that's not really uniform with what you see sales-wise, so.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, guys, appreciate it. Ken?
Right, so I just think it's important for the people who are watching tonight to know and for the word to get out. I don't know if the Northern Neck Sentinel puts anything out on that or not, but anywhere that the word gets out that people need to know that you need to look for that assessment when it comes out, and don't sit around, don't wait on it, be ready for it, and be ready to appeal. Okay, because if you do that and you miss the appeal window, then you're going to be very upset. Okay, so this is a heads up tonight. It's a you know, if you didn't have one already, it's a heads up that you need to be paying attention. You need to be looking for it, and if you don't get it in the mail, then come to the county office and try to get that information and do whatever homework you need to do. Contact your realtor, whoever can do the property values to help you judge that yourself and get the information yourself that you can prepare for the assessment. So that way you don't just come into a meeting and complain about it. You need to do your own homework first. Okay, you need to do some research yourself before you go in there so you don't leave upset or more upset. Okay, so if you have any questions about it, please ask. Send us emails, do something, but we need to know what those questions are so we can get them out. All right, thank you, sir.
Yeah, and thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thanks, everyone. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you guys, and have a good rest of your day.
You got it. All right, I'll pass it off to the Board of Directors.
All right, we will open the King George Service Authority Board of Directors. Do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
So, motion properly second. Any further discussion? By roll call. Mr. Robotham?
Aye.
Mr. Collins? Was that nay or aye? Aye. Thank you. Gotcha. Now, clarification. Mr. Solons?
Aye.
That's abstain, Mr. Collins. We got an aye from Mr. Solons. Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Next up, we have the presentation from Mr. Mark Bowden on the utility report for the Service Authority. Mr. Bowden?
Good evening, Madam Chair and Board of Directors. Good to see everyone tonight. We have a short presentation, not much going on as far as operations goes, but for the month of August, I do want to bring your attention to two items. If we can go to the second slide. Two items on the wastewater side. We had two exceedances, one for Hop Yard and one for the Perkins Corner wastewater treatment plants, and we have some explanations that we can give here. So for Hop Yard, we had an E. coli. It was a single instance E. coli that resulted in a greater than what the laboratory could read on August 13th. We identified the cause as there's ongoing construction in and around the current UV treatment process there. They're actually putting in a brand new UV light that is increased in size to handle the additional capacity once Perkins Corner comes offline. And we pinpointed that high result to that instance. For Perkins Corner, we had TSS concentrations that were elevated, and we had violations for the monthly and weekly concentration averages. And this is due to the disc filter needing repair. I would like to report that September the 10th, that filter was repaired, and we do not foresee this as being an ongoing issue. But do keep in mind that Perkins Corner will be decommissioned here in the very near future. We're looking forward to receiving those flows at the Hop Yard facility. So that is the conclusion of the August report for September. I'd be happy to take any questions that you have at this time.
Does anybody have any questions? No question? All right. Thank you, I appreciate it.
You all, take care.
All right, with that, next up, we're moving along very quickly with the Service Authority. We have the General Manager's report. Mr. Hamilton.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Dan Hamilton. I'm the General Manager of the King George County Service Authority. Earlier this week, or actually this afternoon, I sent a 45-day assessment report to the board. I'm going to just highlight some of those issues that were discussed in that report today. I'm not going to go through it in detail. Two things I want to start off with. One is, as Mark and Bowden just pointed out, the disc filter at the Perkins Corner plant had some issues, and the materials to repair that were delivered the week of Labor Day and installed within a week. And that was reported to DEQ and was part of the corrective action plan that I believe was due to be completed by September 1st. So we missed that deadline by a week or 10 days, but the work has been done, and obviously there was a direct impact on performance. The second thing I just want to point out is that Kathy, Ms. Binder, excuse me, the chair has already pointed out that we received a letter today from the Department of Environmental Quality relieving us or terminating the consent order from, I believe it was August of 2023. And I really can take no credit for that. The work to make sure that that was done was already in place and had been carried on by the staff that was already here and the board. I did help facilitate kind of getting it wrapped up, or as she said, tied a bow on it and reported back to the Department of Environmental Quality the list of issues that had been required by the corrective action plan. And I believe this was the final one on that consent order from August 2023 that caused them to terminate it. So that is very good news, but I deserve no credit. Beyond that, I do want to run briefly through this 45-day assessment report, and then I'll take any questions that the board may or may not have. I just sent it this afternoon, so you may not have had a chance to absorb it all. And of course, this is not an exhaustive list, but I've divided it into a few different categories. Number one, under administrative functions, probably our primary issue right now is the bi-monthly billing that's being administered through the Muni Billing Corporation, who we are under contract with, but the payments are received through the Treasurer's Office, and they use a firm called ACI to process those payments, or people are mailing payments in via U.S. Postal Service. We are having problems with the ACI system. Many customers are calling to complain. This is a change that I guess took place about 6 months ago. The current system doesn't accept an auto payment plan, so people thought they were having their payments automatically deducted from their account, are not. It also doesn't take telephone payments, and it's requiring updates from the Treasurer's Office once they've received payments via mail or received payments electronically that are reported by Muni Billing to come back to us and then update the account. This has created a very cumbersome processing of payments for water bills, and the number of phone calls that are received in our office, probably at least 50% of those calls over the 2 months that I've been here, or a little less than 2 months, are related to that. So I'm going to be making some recommendations about changing back to the Muni Billing system. I've been coordinating with the Treasurer's Office and the finance staff. I believe everybody's in favor of doing this. It's going to have a very low cost to us, and it will facilitate future auto payments and telephone payments and immediate updates to the account system in Muni Billing, which customers call and say, you cashed my check a week ago and it's not showing in the system. That's a problem. Related to that, we had about 1,600 accounts that were considered delinquent out of somewhere around 4,675. Not all of those accounts are active accounts, so that's a slightly confusing number. But if you put it in percentage terms, that's roughly 1 in 3 customers are delinquent. And apparently the delinquent billing system had been having some problems as well. So we've been getting a high volume of calls about that. And again, a number of people are calling saying, I was set up on auto pay. How did this happen? And we're having to, number one, waive late fees, and number two, acknowledge the issues related to the billing and payment system. So again, that's probably the primary issue I've identified there that we need to resolve. And I'm working with the Treasurer's Office and the finance staff to do that. I'm hoping by about the 1st of November, we will have the new system in place or reinstated. And we'll make the public aware of that, of course. And that should make a lot less issue related to this. In terms of staffing, there's a very small staff here. There's 2 administrative employees other than myself. There's about 6 maintenance staff, including a maintenance crew chief, a maintenance manager, a couple of maintenance mechanics, line locators, and a pump truck driver. The pump truck driver was hired originally part-time. We've transitioned his position to full-time. I'm hoping that he's going to be able to take over additional duties related to the fog inspection program. That's something that we did have in place that we lost, I guess, a few months back, and we need to reinstate that. And I'm also working to fill other vacancies that are already on the board, one of which we have resumes for, applications from a posting through HR, and we hope to do interviews in the next few weeks. We're also going to be doing an analysis of existing positions and what future positions we might need. Not necessarily extra positions, let me be clear, but I'm going to be looking at that for the future budgets. And of course, we have a contract within Bowdoin to do the operation of our water and wastewater plants, and we commend them for their continued efforts to keep us in compliance, and we're trying to improve coordination there between our staff, the engineering staff, and the maintenance staff, make sure we're all working for the same goals. There's been a very limited effort here to have safety and training standards in place. It's something I'm highly focused on. I think I mentioned that very early on in my tenure. I plan on scheduling an excavation and trench safety training class for all the maintenance staff no later than the end of next month. This will teach people how to work safely in trenches and make sure they have the proper personal protective equipment, which we're going to be inventorying and making sure that it has been issued to fit everybody properly and that they understand the policies and procedures relating to wearing them. We're also going to have a confined space entry class. Many of the facilities that our employees work in could be considered confined spaces or have confined spaces. They need to know how to properly enter those and what equipment they need to be used. What else? In terms of operation and maintenance, there's been roughly 12 water main or service line leaks in the distribution systems of the various systems between July 20th, when I started here, and yesterday was the most recent one. I don't think there were any real records kept of leaks in the past in terms of the number and the location, so I don't have any way of comparing that to prior data, but we've got to start somewhere, so we're going to have that in the future. We've also identified a discrepancy in the Dahlgren water system, which I believe you all have been aware of since at least approximately the fall of 2024. We are producing far more water there than we are billing for on a monthly basis. In fact, in August, according to our records, we produced a little over 9 million gallons. We only billed for about 6.2 million gallons. That's a 2.8 million gallon discrepancy. That's a significant amount of water loss. I don't believe that there is a leak in the system that would equate to 2.8 million gallons per month. If I remember correctly, that's about 80,000 gallons per day. I think it's far more likely that there's a commercial account or a number of them that may have some type of a bypass system in place, hopefully not on purpose, that's creating that water loss, or possibly a phantom service to the Dahlgren Naval Surface Warfare Center. I'm going to be pursuing all of the commercial accounts we have in the Dahlgren system. There are about 120 of them. I'm going to make personal visits there with myself or staff to take a look at their utility connections and make sure they're set up properly. If we can't find a source for this discrepancy, we're going to have to hire a professional leak survey company. I have one quote in hand and 2 more that I'm researching. In terms of compliance, we've already discussed the fact that we came off of that one consent order from August of 2023. Excuse me, folks, I'm getting a cold. We also, as I said earlier, have resolved most of the issues identified in the corrective action plan that was submitted to the Department of Environmental Quality in May of this year. Those include repairs and upgrades to the filtration system at the Perkins Corner plant that we just mentioned, filter media replacement at the Oakley Park wastewater plant, new UV lights being installed at the Dahlgren wastewater plant, and a number of other issues. The list is not 100% complete, but we're probably at about 85 or 90% complete with respect to that corrective action plan. And Bowdoin is now working on the sampling that's required under the Safe Drinking Water Act for a couple of systems. There will be lead and copper samples collected for the Canterbury system, the St. Paul's Church system, and the Circle system before the end of this month. And also, I abbreviated this in my report to you, but TTHM is total trihalomethanes and HAA is haloacetic acids. Those are also sampling requirements that are standard under the Safe Drinking Water Act, and that has to be done for the Circle system as well before the end of this month. Other than that, I still am researching the existing proposal for the sub-meter program related to credits against water bills for water that is not moving through the sewers, i.e. would be sub-metered on an irrigation system. I'm also scheduled to attend a funding workshop with the Department of Health in Fredericksburg next week, which should help identify and facilitate future grant funding opportunities for some of the upgrades we need to make. And there's been some preliminary discussions about a rate study. I'm starting to research that and have conversations with engineering firms. I'm not sure when the last time you all have had a rate study was, or if there has ever been one. I think it's high time we set that bar. So with that, I'll conclude my report. Are there any questions?
Does anybody have any questions? I know, Mr. Davis, you reached over to me, so do you have a question?
I mean, I just made a comment about the billing and there's some, as far as the automatic payment thing like that, but as far as, the Treasurer Department, they've been behind on running and posting payments for months, and they're like months behind, and can't really get an answer as to why that they're behind on it. I've had constituents call me and they'll write a check to go pay, and they have a $50 credit, but when they come up here on their account, it shows $50 credit. When they come up here, they say you don't have a $50 credit, and then 3 months will go by, and oh yeah, here's your $50 credit. So I don't know what the process is over there as far as what they're doing, but it seems to be lacking just a little bit.
Well, I certainly don't want to imply that the Treasurer's Office is at fault for our issues. They are certainly an integral player in that, and I know they're short-staffed right now. But there's basically multiple handling of payments. Payments that come through the mail are coming to us and being hand-delivered to the Treasurer's Office. And someone in the Treasurer's Office has to, record the payment and cash the check or submit it to the bank, and then we get a report back that the payment has been processed and cleared, and then we update the muni billing system that the account holder sees.
Yeah, we're talking about like
multiple hand holdings there.
3 and 4, and sometimes 5 months behind though. That's
No, I don't think
I
we're that far
understand. I
behind.
understand there's some steps, but there's been times where it's been that.
What this will do, if muni billing accepts the payments directly, either through auto payment or through telephone payments or electronic payments, it will immediately credit to their account that the customer sees, and then they will wire the money to the Treasurer's Office or electronically transfer it. So it will eliminate about 3 other players from that process. So I'm just trying to work smarter, not harder here. Again, I'm certainly not blaming the Treasurer's Office. Spoke directly with the Treasurer 2 or 3 weeks ago, as well as the finance staff. I think everybody's on board. There was concern about the existing contract with ACI. I think the Treasurer and I have agreed that that contract can be terminated with 30 days' notice. And honestly, I don't know that that's even necessary. Realistically, we're just offering another better, simpler way for people to pay the bill. It doesn't have to be through ACI.
Thanks.
So I hope that clarifies.
Any more questions on that? Any big questions for anybody have, Mr. Hamilton? I want to thank you. We did try that. We did used to have a lot of complaints about they wanted it brought in-house to constituents, but when you try something, sometimes it doesn't work exactly how. And I think, received more complaints about not having an auto pay option. I know other board members have received those. A couple of constituents sent us a lot of emails about that. So sometimes you try something, it does not
Sometimes
work.
You just have to acknowledge that it didn't work out the way you intended, and we're going to fall back and use the system we had in place before, and I think it will be much more efficient. With it, probably the key is going to be communication.
Right.
We'll make sure that that's handled properly.
And one of my thoughts was maybe we make sure we do a public service campaign whatever we decide, to make sure that the customers know how to pay for all the services, that the service authority, how process to show them how to do it, because some people do get confused, or maybe it on the bill better, some way of communicate a little better how to, once we settle on a method. All right, Mr. Hamilton, is that it?
Yes, ma'am, I think so.
All right, thank you very much. We next have secondary public comment. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person in order to afford everyone an opportunity to speak. Please provide your full name and district when submitting your public comment so that it can be properly recorded and included in the public record. Would anybody like to come up and give public comment? Anna Marie, you ready to? Not today? Wow. That's... Would anybody else like to give public comment? Is there anybody online? Did anybody receive correspondence while we were sitting here? All right.
Ms. Bender, I'm sorry. I just want to make one thing clear, because I know this has come up in the past. Payments will still be accepted via U.S. mail. Absolutely, without question, that will always be an option. It doesn't have to be electronic. May not be the most efficient way in terms of immediate credit to the statement. Can't control how long it takes to get the mail. But to be clear, if anybody has that question, we will always, as far as I'm concerned, accept payments via U.S. mail or in person.
Thank you very much for that clarification. All right, do we have a motion for adjournment?
I move that we adjourn the Board of Directors to Tuesday, October 7th, 2025 at 5:30 PM in the boardroom of the Rivercomb Building.
Do I have a second? Second. Motion properly second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, motion carries. Mr. Davis, the meeting is now yours.
Thank you. I promised I'd give a shit. Is the Ralph Bunch this weekend as far as their part?
Yes, it is. It's this weekend, and I forget the time. It's 11. I'd have to look on my phone. I think
it
it's
starts
11 to...
11 to 5. I told them I'd give a shout out to it. It's under the Ralph Bunch. It's like a fundraiser for them. It's this Saturday. Starts at 11. I just forgot about that. All right, next up we have, that's why you're here, public hearing, right? Telecom Capital Group. So we have a public hearing that's been properly advertised. What I will do first is I will ask for the staff report open the floor for public comment. At that point in time, public comment will be limited to 3 minutes to give everyone a chance to speak. Upon completion of that, I will bring it back to the board for consideration. First up, Ms. Kelly DeLuke.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. I'll just give a brief overview and then turn it over to Mr. Fisher if he has anything further. I know you all heard a presentation from them at the last meeting, so I'll just make it brief. So representatives from Telecom Capital Group have applied for a special exception permit to construct a 175-foot monopole wireless telecommunications facility with a 4-foot lightning rod on property owned by the trustees of the St. Paul's Episcopal Church, which is located at 5520 St. Paul's Road. The tower compound is proposed to encompass approximately 3,500 square feet. The King George County zoning ordinance requires a special exception permit in the A2 district for a telecommunications facility. The zoning ordinance also contains specific performance standards which the applicant will be required to meet during the site plan review process. They've also addressed each of these in their application. The applicants held a community meeting and conducted a balloon test in March, which was properly advertised in the newspaper, and all of the adjacent property owners were notified as well. They received no comments. The special exception application was reviewed by all of our reviewing agencies, and there were no major comments. The proposed tower is in a location that currently is lacking in service and will provide vital communication for fire and EMS. The Planning Commission considered this application at their meeting in August and voted 8-0 to forward a favorable recommendation to the board. There are 5 draft permit conditions listed in Ordinance O-14-25 for your consideration, and a draft motion is included in the staff report. I'll now turn it over to Mr. Fisher. Oh, hi. Tracy's here. I wasn't sure you were going to be here. Yeah. Okay.
You're really tall.
Hi, members of the board. I am back. I know we went through a pretty comprehensive PowerPoint last time, and I won't take you through each slide individually, but I appreciate staff's really thorough staff report going over the details of both the monopole and the compound. I think I primarily want to point out that we meet all of the requirements of the zoning ordinance and the comprehensive plan, especially setbacks. King George County requires that we be at least 100 feet, not from the monopole itself, but from the compound. And so all of those are met. Last time we also discussed the stealth paint scheme. It's called a graduated paint scheme that we will use here going from brown to blue to help mask and reduce visual impact of the tower. As Kelly noted, we did have a community meeting. We didn't get any comments. Nobody showed up. It was a virtual meeting. If we had had one, we would have a summary with comments and then how we had addressed them. But I mainly wanted to open up tonight so that if you had more specific questions about the propagation maps, the design of the compound or the tower, you could ask those. We do have our RF engineer and Annie are attending virtually, but I think I can field most of the ones you may have. If you want me to go to any of the particular slides that we went over at the last meeting, I'm happy to do so.
Does anyone need to see more slides? I think we're okay. I remember it's pretty simple.
Yep.
Pretty simple project. No. Yes, Scott.
So I have a lot of friends, including Mr. Solons and Pastor Shaw, that live in Claydale. And I've had a lot of my friends reach out to me because we all know that's a spotty area in St. Paul's. So this monopole, just for clarification, what area is this going to help the most?
Let me actually take you to that because it's better to see it on the propagation maps.
And your explanation would be great because
Sure.
it can be a little confusing. Like, where is that area? Because that area we know in this county is a bad area. Every time I talk to somebody driving that way or in there, it drops out.
And I might actually ask Narendra to describe the area of improvement. Do we have him virtually to give specific street names and?
Yes, I'm on. Can you hear me?
Great. Yes, we can. Thank you. This is Narendra Mangra, our RF. So he is the one that gave the RF report that you've seen. So I would like him to take you through the specific streets.
Sure. Actually, if you're looking at Dahlgren and James Madison Parkway, those are the main boundaries. And in between the two main arteries there, that's really where you have a lot of the really poor areas that you see covered. And that's primarily shown in the red spots. So what you're looking at right now is the current coverage that you will have without the Burteville site. And in that particular area, as you could see, there is actually, I'm sorry, it's Caledon Road and Dahlgren Road. That's primarily the bounds of what you're going to be seeing. And you will also notice that that area specifically, it gets kind of hilly, and in between terrain dips a bit. And that's why you will see it's poorer in that particular area than others. And if you look at the next slide with the site added on, you will see a drastic improvement. There are some areas that are still poor, and that's really due to the terrain. It dips a bit in the red areas, and even when there is an absence of color in the white areas there, that actually is really still going to be pretty bad. And that's primarily due to foliage and the combination of terrain. So the taller you go, obviously, the better your coverage will be in that particular site. But overall, with the site right now in the current configuration, it gives you adequate coverage that you will need for you to have seamless connectivity between Burteville and the neighboring sites. Hopefully that explains, and please let me know if you have any questions or need more clarification.
No, that was perfect. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? You're not? He needs to know if it's going to specifically hit his street.
We can put another one right on your property.
All right. There you go.
You laugh at that. I've had some folks that live on Caledon say, I would love you to put a tower on my site, so.
Mm-hmm.
We'll take one. Any other questions? All right, we'll open it up to the public for comment then. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
I'll call, if we get anything, then I will bring you back up, all right? Is there anyone that would like to speak? Mr. Shaw?
James Shaw, James Monroe District, speaking in my capacity as a resident of the Claydale subdivision, as Kathy just mentioned. I'm speaking in favor of the tower. For 5 years, we have had to use Wi-Fi routing to accomplish phone calls. The cell network gets impacted by the wonderful CO2 recycling foliage imbibed trees that we have all throughout our neighborhood. And thus this tower will help my family and my neighbors get more consistent connections and far fewer dropped calls. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Is there anyone else? Pastor? And a bunch of pastors coming in here.
Good evening. I'm Reverend Lee Gandia, rector of St. Paul's Church, which has served our community for 300 years. Before I came here, I served in a 900-year-old church in England. And that experience gave me a deep appreciation for the need to preserve historic sacred places. So I bring the same care to this church, and we believe the proposed tower is a thoughtful and responsible way to serve the wider community while also helping our church's long-term sustainability. Like many rural churches, we face real financial challenges, and this partnership will help us continue our mission while preserving our historic property. We've worked to ensure the tower's placement and design are minimally invasive and respectful to our church's character and the landscape around the church. And our church has always been a place that serves this community, and this project will enable us to continue that ministry. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Reverend. Is there anyone else? Anyone online? No correspondence? All right. So we'll close the public comment period. I'll bring this matter back to the board for consideration. Or a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt an ordinance to approve the special exception permit application Z tag 2025 tag 00263 Telecom Capital Group LLC and trustees of St. Paul's Episcopal Church to authorize the construction of a telecommunications facility on tax parcel 17 tag 1.
Second.
I have a motion properly second. Is there any further discussion? We'll go by roll call. Mr. Collins?
He had his hand up.
Mr. Stroud?
Aye.
Ms. Bender?
Aye.
Mr. Sullins?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much. I know. At this point in time, I will close the public hearing. So next up, I have County Administrator Matthew Smolnick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is this on?
I can hear you a little bit.
Is you guys getting the audio? Thank you. Okay, so a couple items under my county administrator's report. First is the GWRC Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan. This plan was last updated in 2023. I drafted a letter of participation to GWRC. I did not want to bind the Board of Supervisors into adopting the plan until such time the plan is properly completed and you have a thorough time to review it. So my letter to them of support was open-ended, not to put you guys in any position right now to adopt it or with the anticipation of being adopted. But I wanted to let you all know, let the public know that this process will be restarting in the near future for the update. This is an important plan because it does provide us with the different grant opportunities moving forward. In the 2023 Hazard Mitigation Plan, we really look at dam failure, drought, wildfires, earthquakes, sinkholes, flooding, hurricanes, tornadoes, winter storms, and nor'easters, and how this could impact the assets of King George County. So just want to let you all know that letter did go out, but when the full plan is, when we will be an active participant in the update of this, and then the final plan will be brought back to the board for your consideration for adoption. So no actions needed at this time. Second item is the appointment, requesting that Ms. Denise Flatley be appointed to FAMPO's Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee.
So moved.
Second.
Motion properly second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Motion passes.
Thank you. So the third item is there's a brief staff report in your packet at the intersection of routes 206, 218, and 624. This is, Mr. Chris Clark has been working with VDOT and GWRC on, and if you just scroll on the next page, just there's a depiction of where this is at. Right there, there's the new model home in this, it'd be the southeast quadrant here, commercial entity in the northeast quadrant of this intersection. So VDOT was looking to study this. This is for the smart scale applications and looking for some consensus from the Board of Supervisors in order to have the GWRC consultants move forward and study this and submit a smart scale application. Mr. Beal from VDOT is looking for consensus from the Board of Supervisors if this is an intended project. This would be looking at a roundabout in this area to handle some of those very heavy traffic to and from the base in the morning and afternoon commute. So Mr. Beal requested this be brought to the Board of Supervisors. Just need consensus that you guys would feel comfortable including this in the next round of smart scale applications for GWRC consultant.
I think something has to be done there. It's a dangerous spot. You have to just hit the gas and go a lot of times. But that's my opinion. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. The only thing I had to ask Mr. Bill, so I just check on it, looking at Windsor Drive and especially the backup, and he said that might be possibly extending that left turn lane because when the base lets out from at least 2 hours, it can become quite dangerous, especially with the backup in the left lane and it comes to a stop and people are zipping in and out. So if you could just check that if he looked further into that possibly that extending that left turn lane.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
So is the will of the board to proceed? I think that's the will of the board.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. There were 2 items that were not in the packet. I just wanted to bring them up to the board's attention. The county administrators along the Northern Neck have been working on a regional summit. I've sent some preliminary information to the board members. Mr. Collins, thank you for getting back to me. I know Mr. Collins will be out of town on October 2nd. The summit will entail the CAOs of each of the localities on the Northern Neck and 2 board of supervisors on Thursday, October 2nd from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. I'm looking to see, and each of the counties get to have a couple different ideas what they want to present on the agenda for discussion amongst other CAOs and elected officials. So looking to see if there is a willingness for 2 board members to represent King George County at this particular event.
I think me and Mr. Sullins will go.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll forward you the agenda as it becomes finalized.
Right.
And
I do want to hear from the rest of the board as far as what items are important to you on that matter.
Sir, Mr. Chair, by chance, did any of you complete the survey by the GWRC regarding the economic development
I have not.
survey?
I'll just say I completed the GWR survey about regional housing. I actually spoke to their consultant for over an hour, so I have completed that. And I'd also would like to make sure I talk with Mr. Solons and Mr. Davis about concerns with the water supply down the Northern Neck.
No, I did complete it. I hope to get a copy of it, the survey results from them. But it's the 4 counties, including King George, Caroline, Fredericksburg, and I believe Spotsy. But, I found it, the questions were geared to guide the results, I think more the way that they want them. So my responses didn't always fall within the intended. I used more than some of the pre-designated responses, but I think maybe reviewing that would be important maybe before this and go into this or included in that, because the things that they want, what I think they want, aren't necessarily things that I feel that we want out here. So.
Mr. Chair, I just want to follow up on that because I agree with Mr. Stroud. I've been on GWRC for a while, and that's one of our big arguments with the RTA for our transportation authority. We don't sit on FAMPO, but we didn't have a say in that. Do you know what I mean? It was a lot going to be for projects there. And I was at a meeting last January, and one of the things that really bothered me, and that is part of the reason why I supported leaving the FRA, we were told in the meeting that let the elected officials, you're elected to run policy and let the people who really know the economic and development run the region. And that bothered me because there's a lot of considerations. Yes, you could be good regional partners and we should support regional efforts, but each locality has distinctions that are totally different. And that conversation in a meeting where there were a lot of elected officials, business leaders, and all this, that really bothered me. And I understand what Mr. Stroud is saying because there was a trip to Lexington, Kentucky that was sponsored by the FRA to brand the region with 3 legs of a tripod. And in Lexington, Kentucky, it's Toyota, I can't remember, bourbon and horses. And one of the spokes in this region would be data centers, and history was not mentioned, and I forget the other 2 because it was a while ago. So I want to make sure that we're always included in the conversation because we shouldn't be guided by certain, one belief. There should be more voices to the table is what I was saying. You probably would agree with that, Mr. Stroud?
Absolutely, because, some of the responses were, do you believe that your elected officials are, the ones that aren't supporting economic development? So I don't think the economic development people that aren't elected officials representing the constituents should be the ones making decisions. So,
Well, there's also a difference between bourbon and good bourbon. So if we're going to be known for bourbon, let's have good bourbon.
All right. Ms. Smartick, anything else?
Just one other thing. So at a previous board meeting, there was discussion about the ZOTEC, that's the Zoning Ordinance Technical Advisory Committee. At that point in time, there was consensus amongst the board to hold a joint meeting with the Planning Commission. Just want to make sure that's still the will of the board. If there's been any other consideration of that, we have reached. We're tentatively looking at a date of September 25th at 5:30 p.m. Unless there's any discussion amongst the board members for this joint meeting with the PC.
I think we're all still moving on that.
Okay. So Ms. Bender is going to be online on phone,
Yes.
and I hope I'm still alive to be at that meeting, but I'm not sure if I can be online and participate, but I would like to participate, but I don't know if I'll be able to participate.
Okay.
So therefore, my will would be to have it before that time.
Before the time?
Before that time.
Is it possible to have it before the time?
Before that is the same date or just earlier date, or you want looking for a date prior to the 25th?
Date prior.
Is there a, and I know I see Ms. Leduc in the audience, is there a date that works for the Board of Supervisors? I know Ms. Leduc would have to poll the PC members to see, if they are available. I see one PC member in the audience.
And I know there is a conflict with the 24th of September because that is debate night held by the Fredericksburg Free Press. So some members would not be able to attend.
I was just asking, if you can't do it, you can't do it.
By state law, we have to post it 3 days prior, 3 days notice to the meeting. So if it's, we'll tentatively set on the 25th. That's the date that we've been working on. If we can move it up prior, we will, tomorrow morning, I'll get with Ms. Leduc and we will, work on some polls with the Planning Commission. Are there any dates amongst the Board of Supervisors that will not work for you all? Tell you what, instead of discussing it here at the podium, I'll reach out to each of you tomorrow, see if we can move it a little bit sooner.
Yeah, my dates would be the 26th, the 25th, 24th, and the 23rd are out for me, at least.
23rd is a Monday?
Tuesday.
Okay. Because I know one of the other dates was the GWRC meeting, so obviously Mr. Solons and I could not be at any, we would be there. At least definitely I would be there.
Wait, just do what's best for y'all.
I want you to, I want to hear your opinion on this too. I want you to be involved in that meeting.
Ms. Leduc and I will work tomorrow, and we will ensure the proper public notice is out there for the joint meeting.
Is that it?
Yes, sir, that's it.
Another question that we had been talking about, setting up a work session to start beginning on the budget for next year. Do we know when we're going to start doing that?
So I'm glad you brought that up. I was having discussions with my finance team today. So I guess the will of the board, we have an election coming up in early November. So with Mr. Collins, going off of the Board of Supervisors in January, he would not be a part of this next budget preparation. So my thought was to, wait until after the election so we could invite the individual who wins that particular seat for the Monroe District, invite that individual to them so they can be, although they're not a Board of Supervisor, they will, have an open ear of the needs of the community or the county staff and some of the possible ideas for additional revenue generation.
Well, if you want to, when you're discussing the budget, you can just let Mr. Palavoda sit in my seat. Because he'll be sitting here anyhow in January. So you can let him be a part of it.
Do we want to wait till after the election is the question I guess I'm proposing to the board, just a quick yes or no?
I would say yes.
Okay, sound good? All right. Second, I know I talked to you and I talked to Ms. Leduc a little bit about the project as far as about housing and so we can get a projection of how many houses and things could actually go in different districts and regions so we get an idea of what we're planning for when it comes to schools and things of that nature. Are we working on that at all?
So yes, we've been working with our GIS individuals. We have a number of, the county's 65,000 acres, and we have it broken down for each zoning district. We backed out wetlands, steep slopes. One thing that we need to do is pull out the existing homes that are on there, how many lots there are, and that will yield the number of vacant A2 lots, for instance.
Okay.
So we're almost finished with that, but most of the legwork is already done.
Awesome, appreciate it. That's a lot of stuff's going to be just imperative in some of the decisions we're going to be making with the schools coming up and things of that nature. And
Mr. Chairman, if you want, since I'm going off the board in December, if you want to name a park after me, I'll take a name of a park.
Well, the new convenience center down by Dahlgren West.
I would take that because sometimes I can be a little trashy.
Well, Jeff Bush always wanted a bus somewhere, and we said we were going to put his at the landfill.
I want to bust them, but I just want them doing this. That's all I want. Yeah,
Yes, I heard there's stickers available
I got
to
a whole
that.
handful of them if you want one. I got a bunch. Oh yeah, you're on it, hooked up. Putting it on a coffee mug and a t-shirt. All right, so that's the end of that. Mr. Smarnock, is that right? All right, so we'll open up for second public comment. Before I say all the verbiage, is there anyone who wants to speak? All right, then we'll close. Is there anyone online? Or correspondence? All right, so second public comment, we'll close that. Now we're up for information items. I don't see anyone here from Fire Rescue. Sheriff's Office, no sheriff's out of town. You have the Board of Committees. Do we need to look in, is there some boards that we need to be filling out for you?
Yes, sir. They're listed. The Tourism Advisory Committee, there's an agritourism vacancy. Planning Commission, Mr. Williams for the Shiloh District is expiring the end of October. And on the BZA, Ms. Molnar is expiring 12/31 of 25.
All right. Do you know if Mr. Williams is going to go again, or is he stepping down?
That is a conversation that I need to discuss with the people in the Shiloh district, so I would, please ask me to, have to have a conversation with Mr. Williams. And Ms. Molnar, I have already had a conversation with, and I would be looking for somebody in the Shiloh district that might be interested in serving on the BZA. And just for people to know, the BZA is one of the hardest ones to appoint somebody to because we get a recommendation and we give it to the judge, and he decides. So it's not like we can appoint them. We have to recommend somebody. And I had at least 4 years, I couldn't find somebody that really wanted to do it once, because once they found out what it was, they were like, I'm not interested. So if anyone wants to know, it's a recommendation and the judge has to approve it.
it helps if you have a background in that line of zoning, either building, probably realty, some type of background in that, and familiar with it.
Mr. Solons?
I'm glad we brought this up because I had forgotten about a conversation we had with Mr. Scaramucci. We voted a while back to reinstate him or to extend his term on the BZA. He never got the package saying that he's officially a part of it. Okay, got it. As of Monday of last week or something, I think he.
We'll double check and make sure he gets.
Awesome, thanks y'all.
All right. All right, so next up, I need a motion.
Gotcha. I move that the King George County Board of Supervisors convene in a closed session pursuant to State Code Section 2.2-3711A8 for discussion of the landfill agreement and consultation with legal counsel regarding specific legal matters. I invite the county administrator, county attorney, and director of solid waste and recycling as needed because they are deemed necessary and/or their presence will reasonably aid the board in its consideration.
Second.
Motion properly seconded for discussion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. We are in closed session.
No problem. We'll see.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move that the King George County Board of Supervisors return to public meeting.
Second.
Motion properly second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 We are back.
Mr. Chair, I move that the King George County Board of Supervisors certify by vote that only matters under the call were discussed and that no action was taken.
Second.
You need to certify, Mr. Stroud,
So certify.
Ms. Bender,
So certify.
Mr. Collins, Mr. Sellens.
So certify.
Chair certifies.
Mr. Chair, I move that the King George County Board of Supervisors convene in closed session pursuant to 2.2-3711A to discuss Amazon Web Services for the consultation with legal counsel pertaining to actual probable litigation where such consultation in an open meeting would adversely affect the negotiation or litigation posture of the public body. I invite the county administrator, the county attorney as needed because they are deemed necessary and/or the presence will reasonably aid the board in its consideration.
Second.
Motion properly second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. We are in closed session. Don't know what's going on. Mr. Collins? God bless America.
All right, Mr. Chair,
Mr. Sullins?
I move that the King George County Board of Supervisors return to public meeting.
Second.
Motion properly second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 We're back.
I move that the King George County Board of Supervisors certify by vote that only matters under the call were discussed and that no action was taken.
Second.
Motion second. And Mr. Stroud?
So certify.
Bender?
So certify.
Mr. Collins? Mr. Sullins?
So certify.
Chair does certify as well.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
King George County Board of Supervisors convened to a closed session pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A1 to discuss the county administrator's performance and salary. I invite the county administrator because his presence is deemed necessary and will reasonably aid the board in its consideration.
Motion properly second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We are in closed session.
All right. Mr. Chair, I move that King George County Board of Supervisors, I move that King George County Board of Supervisors return to public meeting.
Motion probably second for discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We're back.
I move that the King George County Board of Supervisors certify by vote that only matters under the call were discussed and that no action was taken.
Need a second? Motion probably second. Mr. Stroud? So certify.
So certified.
So certified.
Linder? Mr. Collins? Mr. Sullins?
So certify.
Chair certifies.
I move that we adjourn the Board of Supervisors to Tuesday, October 7th, 2025 at 5:30 PM in the boardroom of the Rivercombe Building.
Need a second?
Second.
Motion probably second for discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We are adjourned. All right.